the 5th of May 1944, 15th Army Group Commander General Alexander issued the operation order for Operation Diadem, a massive assault on the Gustav Line involving both the 5th and 8th Armies from the Tyrrhenian Sea to the Monte Cassino massif. Alexander said the objective was to destroy the right wing of the German army, drive the remnants north of Rome, and pursue the Germans to the Pisa-Rimini line south of the valley of the River Po. The attack was to begin with an artillery barrage at 11 o'clock on the night of Thursday, 11th of May, after a deception plan named Operation Nunton, to convince the Germans that there would be a landing north of Rome at Civitavecchia, and the attack would take place on the 15th of May. The 8th Army, led by General Oliver Leese, was to break the German defences in the valley of the River Liri on the axis of Highway 6 to the east of Rome, and then head north to Terni and Perugia. This would be followed by an advance to Florence and Ancona on the Adriatic coast. The 5th Army, led by General Mark Clark, was to capture the Ausonia defile and advance in parallel with the 8th Army south of the Liri River. This would be followed by a breakout from the Anzio bridgehead to cut Highway 6 near Valmontone. The 5th Army would then advance north of Rome to capture Civitavecchia and Viterbo and move on to Livorno. The 8th Army plan called for 13 Corps, commanded by Lieutenant General Sidney Kirkman, to cross the River Gari into the Liri Valley, while 2 Polish Corps under General Władysław Anders was to break the Gustav Line on the Monte Cassino massif. These attacks would be simultaneous and mutually supportive. The Canadian Corps was to be held in reserve and used in the attack after the first assault. Meanwhile, 10 Corps, commanded by Lieutenant General Richard McCreary, was to feint an attack to Atina. 5 Corps, commanded by Lieutenant General Charles Alfrey on the line from the Apennines to the Adriatic, was to hold as many Germans in the area as possible. The main attack of America's 2 Corps, led by Major General Jeffrey Keyes, was to be directed at a line of hills between Minturno and Monte Cassino, with smaller operations along the coast. The French Expeditionary Corps, led by General Juin and under 5th Army's command, was to break through the Monte Macho massif, cross the Osente defile, and advance parallel with 2 Corps through the Aurunci Mountains. The final phase of the assault would involve 6 Corps in Operation Buffalo, breaking out from the Anzio bridgehead after the Gustav Line had been shattered. The Corps was to capture Cisterna and advance to cut Highway 7 and move on to take Valmontone on Highway 6 to block German forces withdrawing from the Gustav Line. Operation Diadem was to be supported by an unprecedented volume of artillery fire. The 8th Army had almost 2,000 guns, excluding anti-aircraft and anti-tank pieces. The 5th Army was to be backed by 600 guns plus naval gunfire. The Allied Air Force was to support the advance of both armies, with the overarching goal of ensuring the capture of Rome. When Diadem began, the Allies had almost 4,000 operational aircraft in Italy. The Germans have fewer than 600. The German 10th Army under General Heinrich von Wittgenhoff had realigned its defences around Cassino. 14 Panzer Corps, commanded by Lieutenant General Friedling von Zenger und Ettelin, was given responsibility for the Gustav Line from the Tyrrhenian Sea to the River Liri. 51 Mountain Corps under Lieutenant General Valentin Fürstein held the line north of the Liri, including on the Monte Cassino massif. Battalions of the 1st Parachute Corps, commanded by General Richard Heydrich, continued to hold Cassino and Monte Cassino under Fürstein's command. Zenger's command included the 104th Panzer Grenadier Regiment, which covered the coast from Terracina to Gaeta, the 94th Division, which was deployed from Gaeta to Minturno, and the 71st Division, which held the line from the Osentia River to Sant Ambrogio. The 44th Division was ordered from the Torelli area north of Monte Cassino to between the Liri and Cassino, but had only been partly deployed by the time Operation Diadem began. The Corps Gruppo Hauck, commanded by Major General Friedrich William Hauck, held the Adriatic sector opposite Britain's 5th Corps. The 26th, the 29th and 90th Panzer Grenadier Divisions were held in reserve. The Hermann Göring and the 92nd Divisions were deployed to counter a suspected amphibious landing in the area of Civitavecchia. German defences by the start of May included the Hitler Line, which was renamed the Senga Line, which ran from Monte Caro to Terracina via Piedemonte, Aquino, Pontecorvo and Fondi. Two subsidiary defensive systems named the Dora and Orange Lines branched out from the Senga Line. The Sea or Caesar Line ran through Valmontone to Velletri. On the morning of the 5th of May 1944, 5th Army Commander General Mark Clark addressed his senior team at his headquarters in the presence of Oliver Leese. We have a fine plan. It has been developed by General Alexander's headquarters, whereby both the 5th and 8th Armies attack at the same time. We are attacking a wide front in great strength. There are 8 divisions attacking simultaneously on D-Day. These troops are fresh. We have reserves of both infantry and artillery. It is the first time that the total resources of both armies have been thrown into the attack at the same time. I have every confidence in the success of this attack, but I must emphasize that we must not let ourselves look into the crystal ball and, by wishful thinking, that we are going to join up or capture Rome within a few days. General von Senger had gone to Berlin to visit and was on leave on the 11th of May. On the morning of the attack, General Heinrich von Wichtenhoff told Supreme German Commander in Italy, Field Marshal Albert Kesselring, that the front was quiet. Nothing exceptional was expected that day. On the 5th of May, Royal Irish Fusiliers Captain Lawrence Franklin Vale wrote to his wife Olive in the UK from near Formicola, behind the front line, where his battalion was preparing to join Operation Diadem. We have been doing quite a lot of strenuous training over the last few days. Yesterday I had the honour of commanding the battalion on a whole-day exercise on a big scale. It was a big job for me because it was particularly complicated, but it seemed to go off quite well. Well, darling, perhaps one day in the future you will see me as a commanding officer. It is a big step forward, and very few make it, but one can never tell, and I am going to do my best. I have become quite a personality in the battalion. Curious how I have always managed to be successful in the army. I wish I could translate that success to civilian life. Certainly, C is a lucky company for me, and everything I do seems to turn out successfully. Touch wood. And naturally, the danger aspect which so often accompanies us is very unpleasant, and I do miss you and Valerie tremendously, sweetheart. But I suppose I am as happy as one can expect to be under such conditions. And it certainly is a much better tonic for the company than if I went around with a long, gloomy face. All my loving kisses, most precious of wives, to you and Valerie. Lawrence.